A very good morning to you all, Nigerians, and good morning to you, Lagosians. This is Monday. Today is Tuesday.
Krumale has enjoyed his holiday.
Today is Tuesday, the 11th of April, 2023. And whenever you hear that sound, you know it's time for us to bring you stories making the rounds and front pages of the newspapers. And today we'll be doing this with Sarah Wusuwansa. Good morning.
Good morning, Krumale. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning to you wherever you're listening to us from. Welcome to the program today. Like Krumale said, I am Sarah Wusuwansa. And Krumale seemed to have enjoyed his holiday so much. And
it was very short. Well, happy Easter to everyone out there, but it was still very short.
It was very short, but the holidays are over.
Yes.
You know, work has resumed officially. But for some of us that actually didn't have holiday, we understand.
Yes, because there was a review yesterday as well.
Yeah, we have to give you the updates. If we don't give you the update, who would give you the update? But then today we'll be taking a look at stories trending on the front pages of The Punch, The Guardian, The Vanguard, as well as the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, after which we'll have our guests join us to talk about some of these headlines. And one consistent story that has been on the dailies for a while now has to do with the Senate presidency conversation.
The 10th Assembly.
Yes, there have been different sides to it. Yesterday, Grace and I still spoke about it. Last week, Esther and I still spoke about it. And this morning, we're getting an update about how APC kicks as northern governors are insisting on Senate presidency.
Exactly. That's because, politics, it will always have its way, and it will show the side of politicians as people will begin to think that this is a democracy. And the reason why I think the party itself is thinking of, there was earlier before now, there is a negotiation. There wasn't a negotiation. We heard that the party is looking at extending the president of the Senate to the southeastern part of the country. And so normally, because of the way the politics is played and conventionally Nigerian political parties seem to spread their tentacles, they want to make sure that principal officers looking at the president, the vice president, the president of the Senate, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, whenever a political party gets into power, and when we know that it's going to be a lot of politicking in the National Assembly, they seem to politic in a way that they want to cover those. They want to cover, the geopolitical zones. They want to cover the south. They want to cover the east, and they want to cover the north. So that's what they intend to do. But if the APC is kicking because senators want the northern senators want the Senate president, I think it has to do. It's still politics. They will have to do lots of negotiation.
Absolutely.
In fact, lots of negotiation.
Right.
When we need to go in there.
Well, these and other stories are the headlines we'll be looking at on the dailies this morning. In fact, this conversation about the 5-year mandatory service for medical doctors and dentists is taking a different fold after the UK announced yesterday that Nigeria was on its red list countries. This morning, the NARD, which is the National Association of Medical Resident Doctors, and the NME have come out to say that the United Kingdom's restrictions cannot stop doctors' migration. Actually, which is actually true to a very large extent. But we'll go into the details of all of these stories in a moment. Let's take a breather. When we're back, the phone lines will be open. You can send your messages and call us. Do stay tuned.
Join us Mondays to Fridays at 7:05 a.m. to 8 a.m. for freshly baked stories on the newspaper review at High Impact 102.1 FM. Follow us on social media at High Impact 102.1 FM or call 0700 1021 1021. You can also send WhatsApp messages to 0907 224 5018. High Impact 102.1 FM, your urban lifestyle station.
Put a touch of class and finesse on your brand by advertising with us at High Impact 1021 FM. For more information,
call 0706 393 5694, 0915 958 1881, or 0902 745 3931.
Follow us on our social media platforms
at High Impact 1021 FM.
Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Welcome back and thank you for staying tuned. You're still listening to Newspaper Review on High Impact 102.1 FM, and Kromale and I are still here. Right now the phone lines are opened. Do well to let us know your top story for the day. 0700-1021-1021 is the number to call. I take that again. 0700-1021-1021 is the number to call. Send a WhatsApp message to 0907-224-5018. We're streaming live on Twitter at High Impact 1021 FM and on YouTube at High Impact 102.1 FM. Yes, let's delve straight into the dailies, shall we? Let's begin with the Punch newspaper this morning. What does the Punch newspaper have for us this morning? The major caption here says, APC kicks as Northern senators insist on Senate presidency. It has quite a number of writers here that says, Ndume, Kanu, Niger governors poised to contest, say Senate needs competent hands. Any Muslim aspiring to be Senate president lacks respect for Constitution. This is coming from the vice chair. APC yet to decide on zoning, but won't allow another Saraki Dogara scenario, says spokesman. We'll get into the details of this story in a moment, and that details of that story can be found on page 2. Just above that, President Muhammadu Buhari should suspend fuel subsidy removal, declare marketers. That's on page 19. United Kingdom restriction can't stop doctors' migration, coming from the NMA and the NARD. That's a page 8 read on the Punch newspaper. Away from that story, port reconstruction will cost $800 million, says NPA boss. Port reconstruction will cost $800 million, says NPA boss. Kumale, I could see your reaction when I was taking that headline.
Yes, port reconstruction, $800 million.
Yes, not naira.
No.
I think we should probably have a proper breakdown on why it's going to cost that much to reconstruct the port. Let's have the breakdown. Let's see how much is going to every aspect and understand why that amount is so exorbitant. But details of that story can be found on page 10 of the Punch newspaper. Just beneath that, Easter, Lagos FCT residents celebrate, grateful for surviving cash crunch. Meanwhile, enumerators indicted for sexual harassment will be dismissed. That's coming from the NPC. Details on page 8. Police arrest suspect in Instagram cloth vendor's death. We saw the story. It happened in Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria, about this vendor who used to sell clothes. And apparently, according to report, she told her friend she was meeting with someone at a hotel. And apparently, according to the report that has been circulating online, whomever she met with left. And the receptionist actually called and they confirmed that she was okay. And then they tried to now reach her again when it was like past time for her to lodge and to check out of the hotel, and then found out that she was dead. So investigation has been ongoing, but there's an update to the story as police arrest suspect in Instagram cloth vendor's death in Ibadan State. In Ibadan, Oyo State. Sorry about that. The last headline on the Punch newspaper this morning says, Nigerian unemployment rate to hit 41% in 2023. That's coming from KPMG. You get details on page 10. Those are the headlines making the rounds on the front page of the Punch newspaper. Do well to let us know your top story this morning. 0700 1021 1021 is the number to call. Send a WhatsApp message to 0907 224 5018.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us. Now we move straight to stories making the rounds on front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, the central caption says, consumers groan over epileptic power supply. Consumers groan over epileptic power supply. There are three writers to that story. Situation worsening heat. Access to water amid Ramadan. Muslim clerics faithful accuse discourse of sabotage. And electricity companies blame low allocation from national grid. Those are the writers to that story. And at the topmost section of the Daily Trust newspaper, arrest of Kano singers escort. Police commercialization responsible for abuse. You get that story on page 11. Arrest of Kano singers escorts. Police commercialization responsible for abuse. $22 million Carnival Channel dredging. Intel's okay. Let's leave that story. We are moving forward to another story making the rounds on front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. We can see pictorial representation of the Easter celebration where children were having fun with themselves and with their parents. Beneath that, resident doctors reject bill mandating 5-year service for doctors. And beneath that as well, how to secure your bank accounts from fraudsters. You get that story on page 20 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Buhari embarks on 8-day visit to Saudi Arabia today. Bear attacks as sacrifice for new Nigeria. Obi tells supporters. Okay. Bear attacks as sacrifice for new Nigeria. Obi tells supporters. I think by now the police and the law enforcement agencies should step up their game to, intervene and prevent any of such attacks on political parties or political party stalwarts, or probably we shouldn't even say political parties, but Nigerians, because all these are all Nigerians, and no Nigerian is justified to attack any other Nigerian for the sake of anything, be it politics or whatsoever. Those are the stories making the rounds on front page of the Daily Trust newspaper.
Zero 1021 is the number to call. Send a WhatsApp message to 0907-224-5018. We're streaming live on Twitter at High Impact 1021 FM and on YouTube at High Impact 102.1 FM. Right now, let's take a look at what is making the rounds on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. The Vanguard newspaper says 2023 polls. Candidates from 10 parties filed for 136 petitions. Candidates from 10 parties filed for 136 petitions. There was this conversation sometime last week where Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Abakuba, was talking, and I recall there was a conversation about how these petitions should be attended to before the swearing in. And there were talks about how all of these things could be attended to in the space of 7 days without having to drag it. But is there a possibility of these being attended to even before the 29th of May? Is it possible for all of the petitions that have been put across to the judiciary to be attended to before the 29th of May? Krumale, in your perspective?
Well, I think it is. Because at the moment now we're in the season of post-election crisis. Will I call it crisis? Well, if I call it crisis, I'll look at it within the purview of the legal crisis. So political parties have taken each other to court concerning the 25th of February presidential and National Assembly elections and the gubernatorial and State House of Assembly elections. And we have a caller already. Good morning and welcome to the newspaper review. Your name, where you're calling us from, please.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Shiwa from Gowon State.
Your name is Shiwa.
My name is Shiwa from Gowon.
Okay.
Siwa,
okay. Siwa. Okay.
All right, please go ahead. What's your top story?
All right. Well, I think the Senate, they are very, very quick to suggest a bill to probably, start some medical, doctors from going abroad. Probably they should serve for 5 years before going there or something. Why not they actually make a law that will probably stop the public office holders traveling abroad for medical tourism? I think that should be the best way. Instead of stopping, the medical doctors, or they should serve for 5 years before starting out looking for a better working space and all of that. I think they should make a law that will prohibit any office holder from going out there, squandering our taxpayers' money in the name of all these things. So they should just look into that before they start restricting people from, looking for a better place to practice their profession. That's what I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
very much,
Thank
Siwa.
you, Siwa. This conversation actually came up yesterday, and I remember that there was this call for medical tourism to also stop if this bill becomes law, that if we want our doctors, our health practitioners to have a mandatory 5-year service in the country before proceeding to get their full licenses, then the issue of medical tourism, having our those in power travel out of the country to get health care, to get medical treatment, should also be stopped.
When this conversation came on, when the National Medical Association, the National Association of Resident Doctors last year was on strike, when they were on strike, and you could see the incessant battle between the Minister of Labour, Chris Ngige. We saw when this conversation came on that there should be a law mandating all public office holders. That is, we're talking about politicians who won elections, who have been sworn into office, political appointees, cabinet members, be it at the state level or the federal level, governors, their deputies, their cabinet members, their senior special assistants, and all their political appointees, including the civil servants. You shouldn't travel out to go and have a medical treatment for something that can be handled here in Nigeria.
Exactly.
Now, when the argument came in, of course, some people who were speaking for the politicians says it is freedom, that you have a freedom to. There's a way they put it. Is it freedom of movement, freedom of migration, or freedom to?
Then these medical doctors should also have this freedom.
Now it has turned. The table has turned. Now you are making a law actively, without considering yourself as the leaders whom the Constitution has given the right to make law for the good governance of the country. Why are you excluding yourself from it?
Well, I believe that I really want to ask our guest this particular question, and also have a conversation with someone from the NMA or the NARD. But let's quickly wrap up with the Vanguard newspaper, so that we can take the last paper and go on a break. Yes. It says, insecurity, President Buhari leaving Nigeria far better than he met it. That's coming from the presidency. Insurance operators to advertise unclaimed claims. Still on the Vanguard newspaper, IPOB bemoans over Supreme Court delay in hearing Nnamdi Kanu's appeal. Meanwhile, shareholders fault virtual meeting provisions in Business Facilitation Act. FIRS and Customs collect 12.7 trillion naira revenue in 2022. Oti to Aba traders, don't allow fraudsters use my name to extort you. And the last story on the Vanguard newspaper this morning, Rivers Police probe officers assaulting man in viral video. I don't know if you saw this video, but I did. And it wasn't a beautiful sight. It wasn't a beautiful sight at all. But then those are the headlines on the Vanguard newspaper this morning. 0700-1021. is the number to call. Send a WhatsApp message 0907-224-5018.
Welcome back. Now let's look at stories making the rounds on front page of the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper, you can see Mr. President waving goodbye as it reads, Buhari undertakes last official trip to Saudi Arabia, salutes Dangote at 66. You get that story on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. There's a pictorial representation. Beside that, in the spirit of Easter celebration, then other stories says, at 95, a struggle continues for a better Nigeria, says Adebanjo. You get that story on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper. World Bank sees 2% output growth in 2023. Then beneath that, at 80, Biden considers re-election in 2024. At 80, Biden considers re-election in 2024. Then we have Nigeria's industrial base weaker over poor credit support from banks. You get that story on page 6. And private school operators and burden of multiple charges. That's on the news analysis section on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Those are the stories making the rounds on front page of the Guardian newspaper.
Yes, there you have it. We've given you headlines on The Guardian, The Vanguard, The Punch, as well as the Daily Trust newspaper. But we have a caller on the line already. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Do well to call us back, 0700-1021-1021. Send a WhatsApp message to 0907-224-5018, and we'll definitely take your calls. But right now, it is time for us to go on a break so that we can have our guests join us to talk about these headlines. So you can keep your questions coming in, 0907-224-5018, and we'll do well to attend to them. But then we have a caller on the line. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. There seems to be a challenge with the network situation, but then you can always send us a message. I'll take the WhatsApp number again, 0907-224-5018. You can send us a message and we'll definitely take it. We're due for a break now. We'll be back in a moment.
Join us Mondays to Fridays at 7:05 a.m. to 8 a.m. for freshly baked stories on the newspaper review at High Impact 102.1 FM. Follow us on social media at High Impact 102.1 FM or call 0700 1021 1021. You can also send WhatsApp messages to 0907 224 5018. High Impact 102.1 FM, your urban lifestyle station.
Put a touch of class and finesse on your brand by advertising with us at High Impact 1021 FM. For more information,
Call 0706 393 5694, 0915 958 1881, or 0902 745 3931.
follow us on our social media platforms
At High Impact 1021 FM.
Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Ade, where are you cruising this weekend?
Omo, I'm lounging on High Impact Cruise.
What's that?
Oh, you haven't heard about Eugene One? A luxurious ultra-modern 4-story yacht. Omo, me and Dele chop life, oh. Fabulous music. Then live band play. 3-course meal and different exotic drinks on top Lagos water. For 4 hours.
So how far now? What's the level?
You too can come on a cruise and have an unbeatable experience on the waters of Lagos. Dance, drinks, and 3-course meal on Eugene One. Call 0705 095 5987 or 0806 483 1491. Now for bookings.
Guy, I'm coming with you.
Ha, no. I already arranged with Pat now.
You mean my part?
High Impact Cruise. Dream, discover, explore.
Do you know bad production can kill a great content idea?
Do you want to have a photo shoot, audio production, or do you need a professional voiceover artist?
Do you simply want unmatched cinematography, video production, or just event coverage, such as weddings, birthdays, or burials?
Or do you need a space for meetings or conferences? All these are possible with High Impact Studios. Don't bring down your creativity, let's help you take it high.
And out of this world with our state-of-the-art equipment and first-class studio space.
We give you the quality you deserve at the best rate.
For more details, call 0706 393 5694 or 0915 958 1881. High Impact Studios, the future.
Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us on the program. It's still the newspaper review, and our guest will join us shortly. But looking at the stories, that particular story talking about the APC and the office of the president of the Senate, that the party, I could see that the APC vice chairman from the Northwest, Mr. Lukman, called on the 8 senators from the northern part of the country, or some senators vying for the position from the northern part of the country to respect the party's constitution and to equally, for the sake of democracy and fairness, allow the party to zone the office of the Senate president to the southern part of the country, the southeastern part of the country, or the southwestern part of the country. And if you look at it, it doesn't look like it might come to the southwest. It doesn't look like the southwest is being even considered, because the president-elect of the country is from the southwestern part of the country, so the southwest is not even in the equation, and the north, because I think one of the main core reason why the APC equally wanted to zone that to the southeast or the southern part of the country is because, as stated, of the Muslim ticket. Yes, that is just that is part of it. So for those from the northern part of the country, or the senators from the northern part who are still vying for that position, seem to be not to be there's this talk that they are not for the sake of fairness they should step down, and their response to that effect has not been very, very welcoming. And I see this is going to take another rowdy session in the National Assembly, and if we look at it very, very closely, it might call for either defections, mass defections, maybe looming ahead. But if that's not the case, other minor political parties or other political parties at the fringe might want to put their heads together to make sure that they seize that position from the ruling party. And will that be? I am taking a look at it politically. If the ruling party will want it to have such a scenario or such crisis in their hand in the National Assembly.
Well, this is politics, and we know how politics can be. This comment is coming from the ruling
party itself.
So there's a lot of things that are not so certain.
There are divisions in the party.
So they also have internal crisis at the moment. So if the party, the ruling party, is saying that northern senators vying for the office of Senate presidency need to step down and give it to other parts of the country, I think that's something. But then we have Dr. Adedayo Kayode on the line this morning. Hello, Dr. Adedayo Kayode. Thank you for joining us on the review. Good morning.
How are you today?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Enjoy your break.
Well, media doesn't take breaks, so.
Just like me too.
But I hope you try to find some time to rest.
No, presently I'm in Ibadan. I traveled out to Ibadan yesterday.
Okay, interesting.
Okay.
You know, we have all sacrificed the rest of our life to serve our father's land, so no break.
Oh, very good. And Dr. Adedayo Kayode. let's go into some of the stories making the rounds on front page of the newspaper. But I want to start with politics, which is something that we are talking about. The 10th Assembly, there's this jostle for the president of the Senate, and the ruling party, the APC, is trying to talk to or caution some of its members from the northern part, from the northern senators who are insisting on the president of the Senate. The ruling party is looking at zoning it to the southeastern part or the southern part of the country. What's your take on it?
Yeah, you see, you know me before that it is not about zoning or no zoning, because even before now, I don't believe in zoning or federal character. Rather, I believe in capacity. I believe in technical know-how, and I believe in compassion. Since all these years that we have been zoning leadership of National Assembly, presidency, ministerial appointments and all that, to what extent have they been able to deliver the dividends of democracy? What I'm saying in essence is we should abhor from all these incessant fighting for positions. Rather, let us look at those among us that can make life better for the people of Nigeria. Listen, this outgoing assembly, you remember when they were jostling for positions, I was telling them that they got to be independent on their own without allowing the executive to have hands in who leads them. But alas, what did the Senate president say? He said, Buhari is our father. Whatever he asks us to do is what we do. Is Buhari Nigeria? Can a single person override the decision of over 150 million people? What I'm saying in essence is this. The incoming National Assembly should be sincere among themselves. Nigerians have suffered enough. Nigerians have seen bad times more than anybody, more than any country in this world. Let us put people who are capacious enough that will be able to annex our resources together to give us a better future in this country.
Okay, Dr. Kayode, let me come in here. Now, I know you're not the only one that's always towing this line. We are not talking about federal character. We don't want zoning, and federal character has not contributed as much as they should to the development and upward mobility of the country. However, I think the people who told this line, including you, Dr. Adedayo Kayode, probably are not giving thought to the diversity of Nigeria, probably have not given enough thought to represent the representation of this diverse people of Nigeria. And if you look at it, will they be saying that in these political parties, and these political parties have heavy representation from the southeastern part of the country, from the southern part of the country, from the southwestern part of the country, and from the northern parts of the country? So if you are talking about capacity, are they saying, or are you saying, that if they look within their political parties from the southeastern part or from the southwestern part of the country, there is none in the political party that is in the Senate that has the capacity to deliver, and so that person can be elected into that position just for the purpose of fairness and representation?
Now, listen, Krumale. What do you mean by fairness? What do you mean by representation? The moment you are there, the moment you are in the National Assembly, it is not APC National Assembly or PDP National Assembly. We call it National Assembly.
You are representing a constituency. You are representing a senatorial district.
Wait now, whatever senatorial district you are representing, you are already representing the whole Nigeria. All right, you are not going to be there. You are not going to be there as only a southeastern. Let me give you an instance. If look at this currency menace that we had of recent. Did it affect only people from Bajabi Amila's constituency, or Lawa's constituency, or Buhari's constituency? But it affected the whole nation. Look at the issue of our passport. that it will take you almost 6 months before you can renew your passport. Is it affecting just one constituency?
No, Dr. Adedayo
Kande. Blow your bubbles. Blow your bubbles.
Okay.
Look at what is happening in America presently. Look at their House of Reps now being led by McCarthy. Who knows where McCarthy is from?
Dr. Adedayo Kayode, there is something we are missing. There's something we are missing, Dr. Kayode, and that is what I was trying to. If Nigeria has more than 250 multi-ethnic tribes, for the who represents these other sections, how can we talk about inclusivity when these persons are not represented in the seats of power? I believe those who crafted the Nigerian constitution just a moment. I believe the drafters of the Nigerian constitution have respect to the diversity of Nigeria and the people therein. So even the reason why the character you talked about, the federal character was inculcated into the Nigerian constitution for the purpose of representation. I believe that's even the reason why before now the political parties have been paying attention to where the president come from, where the vice president come from, where they want to zone the president of the Senate to and member of the House of the Speaker of the House of Reps. Then they start talking about the other principal officers in the National Assembly, which they want to give to other zones or other places, other districts from the country for the purpose of inclusivity and participation in the polity. So if they don't do that, don't you think there will be marginalization in some regards?
Krumale, I will refuse the ideological drift that you want to throw down my throat this morning. Inclusivity is nothing other than dividends of democracy being given to everybody. Now listen to this. Assuming, okay, look at when Jonathan was the president of this country. He came from
South.
Bayelsa, go. Let's even say Bayelsa. Go and see what they are facing in Bayelsa in terms of infrastructural development. Look at the NDDC. You remember the scenario of stop the mic, off the mic.
Yes.
Look at how much money had gone to NDDC. What is the level of infrastructural development there? What I'm saying is inclusivity is nothing other than dividend of democracy being given to people. Let us stop making a mountain out of a molehill. We are always talking about tribal divers, tribal this, tribal that. For goodness sake, what concerns me with tribalism? I am a Nigerian, fine. But why? And I live in Lagos. Rather than us talking about yes, where do you come from? Where is you are a native or where? Man, I don't give a hoot about that. All I want is let there be development in Ekiti, let there be development in Oyo, let there be development in Ogun, let there be development in Lagos, let there be development everywhere. The moment we put people there that are ready to ensure adequate development for everybody, then nobody give a hoot where you come from. Look at that your station. You have different departments. Do you now want to say that when people are not being promoted adequately or taken care of adequately, you now want to be talking about department? No. Everybody must be given adequate sustainability within that organization. Let's excuse from all these primordial thinking from this nation.
Okay. Dr. Adedayo Kayode, we will have to, in-depthly talk about Nigeria's diversity and the issue about federal character, inclusivity, and participatory governance in Nigeria in another conversation. Right. Probably we'll do that on record. So let's go to another stories making the rounds and front page of the newspapers.
Right, Dr. Adedayo Kayode, let's talk about this mandatory 5-year service. Now, now, they have, after this conversation came up when the bill passed second reading, there have been different reactions to it. Some persons have said it's a form of slavery. Some persons have said it's a form of restricting the doctor's fundamental human rights. And there's a conversation that is coming up that if this bill eventually becomes law, then we should visit the issue of medical tourism, where we have these lawmakers, these political elites, these people in power go out of the country to get medical attention, health care, that if this bill of a 5-year mandatory service for doctors becomes a law in Nigeria, then there should be a conversation on medical tourism, and these lawmakers, these people in power should not be allowed to go out of the country for medical tourism. What's your take on all of this?
Yes, I will definitely react to that very contemporary issue in our nation that you just raised. Then, but again, are you aware that those people, I think UK or US yesterday came up with the news that they will even stop.
It's the UK
bringing medical practitioners from Nigeria.
It's the UK
because they have already filled their quota. Can you imagine that? Because they are seeing what is happening here. But then let us go back to that same question. This is exactly what I was saying the other time. If legislators can sit down with our tax money and then be talking about this kind of a bill, that you will be 5 years, 5 that, and all that. Is that what we ask them to go and do there? When this thing started, when I first of all read it, you know what I labeled it? I labeled it idiocy of legislation. Because if it is not, with the myriad of problems we have in this country, that is what we are talking about. Even when you buy there for 5 years, will you buy them from getting visa and they buy tickets? Listen, even our certificates. I mean, that's why I even label idiocy of legislation. They should have known that our certificate outside there cannot work without re-certification. When you get to UK or US or Canada or that, they will still reassess you because they know where you are coming from. They know that you are coming from a country. You have gotten your medical disease from a country whereby even throughout your disease, you have not gone through the proper experimentation that will qualify you appropriately. There was a scenario inside the aircraft one day. One professor of aviation, was inside that aircraft. You know, when the aircraft was about to take off, they now announce, you know, they will normally announce the name of the pilot, the co-pilot, the engineer. When he had a name, he said, "Was that not my student?" He now found out that was his student. He said, please let me stop, let me drop from this aircraft. Because he knew the kind of education that had been impacted in that particular guy wasn't adequate enough. Wasn't adequate, and that's the kind of the thing we see here. So even when you debar them from here, if you don't give them certification, you don't give them their certificates, those people, they know what is happening. They will reassess them when they get there. So, I mean, that's to tell you the shallow thinking that we have been having in most of our legislation in this nation.
Okay. But what about the issue? Let's talk about it. Let's look at it from the aspect of the lawmakers as well. Let's look at the intention of the bill. Of course, we know that the countries, the 54 countries or the 52 countries that the United Kingdom has, red listed, though they went further to say, except on a government-to-government agreement, this particular migration or no movement of doctors can happen between the UK and any of those countries that existed that are in those 54 or 52 lists, 54 list of countries. But that aside that, let's look at it from the part of governance, lawmaking, and governance. Can we have the same law being made to restrict political elites from having going for medical trips abroad?
Now, That's a very good one. I was discussing with somebody, I think this morning, either this morning or yesterday evening, and I was using Ekweremadu as an example. I said, even though I empathize with Ekweremadu because he's somebody I followed for a while since he'd been elected into the National Assembly. I said, if only he had contributed immensely to having or developing our medical facilities and infrastructures in this country, they wouldn't have been going there. I was reading a piece. I had a picture of it, of a UCH in the days of yore, when the king of Saudi normally come to UCH on medical tourism. Where is that UCH now? Look at our aviation industry. Air France, Kenya Airways, South African Airways, and so many of them like that. Normally come to Nigeria for their sea check because we have a very reputable hangar here. Where is that hangar again? Where are all these things? But the question now we need to look at is this: why are these doctors and other professionals going outside to look for greener pastures? You should take a costly look at that particular question. You're going to find out that why these doctors are they being taken good care of here? I give you an instance during the COVID period. The allowance, risk allowance, being paid to medical doctors was less than 5,000 naira.
I think it was 5,000 naira.
Less than Kurumana. It was later when NARD and NME, all of them decided to go on strike.
We had a caller call us sometime last week to talk about this, and he mentioned that the risk allowance was about 2,500 naira at the time.
Exactly. They were not even paid.
3,500.
Listen, go to our hospitals. Do they have enough resources to work with? Are they being respected? Look at that. Listen, I have a friend. I wouldn't want to mention a name because perhaps he won't like it. He was having an hospital at Egbeda. This is a world-renowned professor or consultant on hepatitis. He's my very, very close friend. He was frustrated in this country that he had to relocate with his family in Canada. This guy is like me. He is somebody that wants to service, to render things for this country, but was frustrated. For how long have people like me and some others have been calling for good governance? What have we seen for it?
Okay,
so it's a big issue that all these doctors, all our professionals, all our lecturers, they are not. Listen to this, Kurumale. The lecturers were on strike because of how much money. But the president in his own wisdom abandoned them, and he was buying vehicle for them in Niger Republic for security. Where people are being killed in this country. He found this way for our refinery not to work, but to be joining us in building refinery in Niger Republic. Are these no issues?
Building refinery in Niger Republic?
Oh, Benny, you know that is in the news now. Is it not everywhere? Is it not everywhere in the news?
We know about the vehicle. We know about the purchase.
How about the railway?
Yeah, we heard about the rail line, but not refineries. Not refineries.
Go and find out the refinery in Nigeria. Go and Google it. I won't come here to be telling you things that are frivolous, things that are not there.
Okay.
You know me that I do my research before coming on here.
Okay. All right, Dr. Adedayo Kayode, our time
It is my opinion. It is my statement.
Okay.
And I own it, and I own up to it.
All right, Dr. Adedayo Kayode, it is 7:56, and it's time for us to go, Dr. Adedayo Kayode.
This is 1 hour.
Yes, we will. We
would look into that.
We will do that.
Thank you so much
for joining us. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes, it's my pleasure being with you, with all Nigerians joining hands together faithfully and sincerely. Summer, we get there that Nigeria will take its own position within the Committee of Nations.
Right, absolutely. Thank you, Adedayo Kayode. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay.
Quite an insightful one there, I must say.
Yes.
It's sad that we couldn't really wrap up the conversation with him, but we'll definitely have Dr. Adedayo Kayode back to discuss these issues. Because I was actually already searching for the refinery that he talked about. So I'll do my research, and then we'll have this conversation again.
Yes. For me, the other case about doctors, that there must be a mandatory 5-year service before relocating abroad. I would like to talk to a lawyer. Would that not be restricting the fundamental rights, as is in the Constitution, that we all have fundamental rights to move, of movement, freedom of movement? So would that not be restricting the fundamental rights of persons, irrespective of the fact that they are medical doctors? Does the National Assembly have right to make laws to restrict the movement of someone, except if that person has committed a criminal act?
Talking about this fundamental human right, I know that we talked about it last week. It was in the news, and Esther and I were discussing how this limits their fundamental human right. And there was a particular section of the Constitution that Femi Gbajabiamila quoted that this law of fundamental human rights could be breached, could be suspended if it had to do with health or life. I would get it out, and when we come on the review tomorrow, we will take it so that people have a proper understanding. But our time is fast spent, and we have to go now. We saw that you were trying to call us, and we're on the call with Dr. Adedayo Kayode. Sorry, we couldn't take your calls, but we'll be here again tomorrow, same time, 7:05 a.m. to take a look at the headlines for the day. Remember to follow us across our social media platforms at High Impact 1021 FM and News Around the Globe _ On Record comes to you at 9 a.m. and we'll be having a very, very interesting conversation that interests you. Trust me, it has to do with education, and we'll be having the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education for Lagos State, in person of Abolaji Abayomi. So you want to stay tuned for On Record at 9 a.m. Till I see you next time, I am Sarah Owusu-Ansah.
And I am Oyin Priye Krumale. Many thanks for listening.
Join us Mondays to Fridays